Something quietly breaks inside a person when they finally admit that someone they love has been slowly draining the life out of them. Not dramatically, not all at once, just gradually. The small leak empties something that took years to fill. You didn't see it coming because they were never a stranger. They were close, invited in, trusted completely, and that's precisely what makes this particular kind of loss so disorienting. Because walking away from an enemy requires courage, but walking away from a friend, someone who knows your history, someone who sat with you in your worst seasons, that requires something far deeper than courage. It requires obedience to something greater than comfort. Scripture doesn't romanticize friendship, it warns about it repeatedly, with a specificity that feels less like ancient wisdom and more like someone who watched human relationships very carefully and understood exactly how they destroy people from inside out. The first type is the friend who celebrates your failure more than your growth. You have felt this. The one who arrives fastest when things fall apart, but grows strangely quiet when things begin working. Their concern during your crisis was never really about you. It was about what your struggles did for their sense of security. Proverbs captures this with uncomfortable precision. A person who rejoices at calamity will not go unpunished. This isn't someone who dislikes you. This is someone who needs you smaller to feel adequate themselves. And no amount of loyalty on your part will ever change that arithmetic. The second type is the friend who constantly pulls you back toward who you used to be. Not out of nostalgia, out of preference. They were more comfortable with your old limitations, your old fears, your old obedience to the version of yourself that never challenged them. First Corinthians warns directly, bad company corrupts good character. Not bad strangers, bad company. The people already inside, the ones with enough access to make corruption feels like friendship. When someone consistently reintroduces you to habits, mindsets, and patterns you have fought to leave behind, they are not your history, they are your obstacles. The third type is the flatterer, and this is one of the most dangerous because it feels like love. They speak beautifully about you, publicly, generously, constantly, but Proverbs identifies flattery not as kindness but as a trap. A person who flatters their neighbor spreads a net for their feet. Flattery isn't encouragement. Encouragement points you toward the truth. Flattery points you toward the flatterer. It creates dependency, distorts your self-perception, and quietly makes you need their voice to feel valid. By the time you notice the net, you have already stopped walking in your own direction. The fourth type is the chronically angry friend, the one for whom everything is an offense. Every conversation carries an undertone of grievance. Every interaction costs you something emotionally. Proverbs doesn't suggest being cautious around this person. It commands separation. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered. Or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. The psychological mechanism here is precise. Chronic anger is contagious. Spend enough time inside someone else's unresolved bitterness, and you begin interpreting your own life through their lenses. Their enemies become your enemies, their suspicion becomes your default, their prison becomes your address. The fifth type is the one who calls themselves your friend, but consistently steers you away from your faith, your values, your sense of purpose. They don't attack these things directly, they erode them through subtle mockery, through persistent pressure, through making you feel that your convictions are the obstacles to your freedom rather than the foundation of it. 2 Corinthians asks what fellowship light can have with darkness, not as condemnation of a person, but as an honest acknowledgement that certain combinations are simply incompatible, and incompatibility, no matter how affectionate the history, eventually costs one person everything that they were trying to become. Here is what makes this genuinely difficult. These five people are not your enemies. They are not evil by design. They are wounded people operating from unexamined places. And unexamined places, dressed in the language of loyalty, can cost you your entire future without ever raising a hand against you. Walking away isn't hatred, it isn't judgment. It's the quiet act of honoring the God placed inside you enough to stop letting the wrong people have access to it. The most sacred thing you protect isn't your reputation or your success. It's a version of yourself that is still becoming. Guard it like it matters. Because according to everything scripture actually says about friendship, it does. Subscribe to Paradox Mind, and if this named something you have been carrying silently, type walking forward in the comments right now.